Why does God take his time answering prayers? Have you ever found yourself crying out, "Why doesn't God answer my prayers? Why does he let me suffer when I'm desperate for help?" If you've ever asked these questions, you're not alone. Let me tell you a story. It's 2013. A man, a cook on a ship, was working when disaster struck. A vicious storm capsized the vessel, sending it plummeting to the bottom of the ocean floor. Imagine the chaos. Water rushing in, men fighting for their lives, and eventually, silence. The entire crew drowned, except for one man. This cook, trapped in the engine room, found himself preserved in an air pocket. Sounds like a miracle, right? But imagine his reality. Total darkness, freezing temperatures, and the haunting sounds of sharks feeding on his crewmates outside. Dyer doesn't even begin to describe it. He was desperate for a miracle. He screamed, he banged, he prayed. But when the first rescue team found the wreckage, they didn't hear him. They left. Can you imagine what he must have felt? But then, 3 days later, they returned, not expecting to find anyone alive. When they finally discovered him, they couldn't just pull him out. Why? Because after spending 3 days trapped at over 100 feet below sea level, his body had absorbed dangerous amounts of nitrogen. If they rescued him too quickly, the rapid ascent would have caused nitrogen bubbles to form in his bloodstream, leading to a heart attack, stroke, or worse. They had to bring him out slowly, one careful step at a time, or the very act of saving him would have killed him. And that's exactly how God works in our lives. Sometimes we find ourselves in what feels like an endless crisis, crying out for God to step in and rescue us. And we wonder, where is he? Why doesn't he fix this now? But what if pulling us out too quickly would harm us more than help us? Just like that cook at the bottom of the ocean, we need to trust that God's timing is perfect. He knows what we can handle. He knows when we're ready. And sometimes, that means staying in the struggle a little longer. Not because he's ignoring us, but because he's protecting us. Think about it. Some of us prayed for success, but God waited until we were mature enough to handle it. Some of us cried over heartbreak, only to realize later that breakup was God's way of protecting us from the wrong person. Some of us felt isolated, wondering why God allowed us to feel so alone. But maybe he was shielding us from others, or even from ourselves, while he worked on our hearts. Here's the truth. Early deliverance can be deadly, but God loves us enough to bring us out slowly, carefully. As he works, he's not just changing our circumstances, he's changing us. Some things have to die in us before we're ready for the next level. Old habits, old desires, and even old mindsets need to be left behind. God is preparing us to handle the blessing he has in store. So if you're in a season of waiting, take heart. Trust the process. Cry if you need to. Pray. Stay faithful. Because when God brings you out, you'll be stronger, wiser, and ready for his best. I hope this message blessed you today. If it did, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, this is the Everyday Believers Network, where we remind you to trust God with your everyday. Thank you for watching. See you next time.